Welcome back to the show. So today I want to talk about ancestral trauma and ancestral healing. It has been a really interesting journey since I want to share my personal experiences, obviously, through this. And I think it's something super prevalent. Not I think, I know is super prevalent right now for us to continue to anchor into our hearts and continue to raise the vibration of Earth and be there with Earth as she's doing her thing already. And we want to come along. So ever since I got back to the States after my travels, since landing, I've had such a huge pull and draw out of nowhere to just go visit all of my family, especially family that I haven't seen in years. And so this came to me just very uniquely and randomly. When I got back to the States, I was staying in Charlotte for a little bit with my sister. She lives down in Charlotte. And I had done a bit of hiking in Nepal, and one of my aunts was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to hike with you. You can come hike with me in the Appalachians in Tennessee." And I was like, yes, and I think there was a little bit of element of surprise there on her side of like, wow, she's going to come. So I go, and then I see my grandma, my sister's able to come with me too. And, I had a relationship with my dad's side of the family, really with my aunts, until really now, here and there I moved a lot growing up as a kid. So we were never really close to extended family ever. And so now I had just this huge pull to just go and see people. So in the midst of me being there with my aunt, then I went and saw two of my cousins that lived in Tennessee, and they both have two kids. And so I got to see and actually be an aunt, And so that was the first time that really that had anchored in within myself. And yeah, and then from there I go back to Charlotte. I help my parents move up to Cincinnati. So I stay with them, reconnecting to this parent relationship. And I want to speak a little bit about this because I think this is where we can really, we need a lot of space for ourselves, and there's a lot of growth and necessary, how do I say, you just need to show up differently. You need to rewrite your relationships. And this happens a lot with the way that you are presenting yourself and how much you decide to go through your own shadow work and your own healing. And we are no longer these children that have been wounded and have, oh, I'm this way because of my family, or I'm this way because of my parents, or this is how I am because of my childhood. And I'm this way in relationships, or I'm this way and avoidant. And we continue to blame others for the way that we're behaving. And what we do is we don't show up authentically in ourselves, in our own sovereignty, in our own personal right of being an actual spiritual human being, having a sovereign experience, because we're so caught up in what happened to us. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen to us, especially as kids, that we have no control over. But we do have the ability to determine, and this is what Martin had said in the previous interview, the episode right before this. Martin had shared, we have the ability to decide what happens next. And he has an incredible book. So if you haven't listened to that episode, or if you haven't read his book, please go buy his book, listen to his podcast, listen to episode 51 is the podcast that he was on. So we have this ability to know and decide what happens next, even though we can't really control what had happened to us in the past. And there is this huge dynamic shift that can happen once you just simply decide that. You remember that, and you're like, wow, okay, I am a human being. I am a person. So are my parents. So are my family members. I can hold them to a level of this new boundary and this new relationship of that, and that they are not in control or the controllers of how I feel. or no longer just responsible for my trauma. And I think this is something that really can sometimes be mistaken for not having like enough sympathy, but it's really that we have to start really just like not having that. You have the sympathy, but you need the strength and the will and the ability to look at it head on, and to also see how you're co-creating in this relationship and dynamic. And I've experienced with my parents individually, they're separate relationships with mom and dad, but I have experienced such a huge shift within relationship as I continue to grow older. And as I just decided to see them as humans doing the best that they could do, learning their own lessons, they're on their own soul path. And we are here in this soul family co-creation where we get to, be in this relationship dynamic differently. I am no longer the child and they are the parent. It'll always be, I'm always the daughter, but it's more of this adult to adult relationship. And this is how we can continue to move forward with each other, within friendships, within relationships with other family members, of having this very strong, secure knowing in yourself of like, no, this is who I am. This is my mess, and I'm not blaming it on anybody else. Like, these are my own patterns that I might be projecting onto you or blaming you, but it might also be from past lives. It might be soul lessons that I came in to choose to work through that has nothing to do with my parents or family. And I'm deciding to just shit all over that and just be like, this is your fault. So that was a little tangent there, but it is such a strong pull for me to just reconnect into the roots, ancestral roots, family roots, even the land. And what's really interesting that I'll share this story is that this continued to move throughout, my dad's side of the family. So I went and saw, my other three aunts on his side. And then this also bled to, my mom's side of the family that I hadn't seen them in 8+ years. So, and I think that the major initially started for me just out of curiosity and following that kind of nudge of going to visit and commune. But it also was like an element of health where somebody's health wasn't great and it was questionable. And then we're like, oh, fuck, we should go see this person. And like all this petty shit that had happened and all these things that like you think are problems or really just are just minor things. You're just being petty. You're just, it's almost like when health scares happen or something in the world happens pretty big, we're reminded of like those little things that like wedge us and separate us are really like just don't matter. They're just literally so minuscule. And we're like, why was I fussing over this for so long? Or like, why was this even a problem for me? So health had come up in two different scenarios where somebody's health is in question and we want to go see this person. And I want to take a step and be like, why does it take that sometimes? Like, why does it take us almost life or death to be able to lay down our own sword and like apologize or recognize maybe how we have been in the wrong or like showing up not in the most loving way? Like, why is it always so stark like that? I'd like to have this reminder if you're listening and you're thinking about someone in your own family or friends or group. And I'd like this to just be that little nudge for you, a reminder before it comes to this really like intense, maybe life or death scenario of you to be able to be like, hey, maybe I should mend this bridge and mend this relationship. And it doesn't mean that it has to be the same relationship that it is, or you don't have to, forget the things that had happened. It's just that you decide to no longer have that energy charge and that, pain point, wherever that comes up for you, you're deciding to release that and move forward. And when we hold on to those things and, in those relationships of people, they are in our field, they're attached to that other person. They're weighing us down because we're just like, it's within our energy body. So when we decide to be like, I'm going to release this, I'm going in approaching this with love, with centeredness, and in a centered heart space with this person, things just start to dramatically change. So anyways, so this had happened, life or death had happened. And so then on my mom's side of the family, we decided to go see, people that we hadn't seen in years in California. So I go back to the land that I am from. I was born in California. My mom was born in California. She is at the marina that she grew up in as a kid. So it's connecting back to people, to the ancestors, and to the land that I was from. So that was really powerful for me. We had an incredible trip, and everybody was so heart-centered and heart-focused. And it was just love was pouring out of all of us. And it was just this heart connection rather than anything else. Like, if I can describe it to you, it was just from heart to heart. And I came back with such a healing on that side. And when we heal ourselves, when we heal relationships, we also are healing our ancestral line and ancestral patterns that come with that. And so when we're able to look at these patterns that come up in our families and our family members, in relationship dynamics, and things that happen and maybe that aren't so good, that are personal, like self-doubt or afraid to be seen, or not wanting to show up, or all these little things that can be passed on even in our ancestry. So we think that it's just our problem that we're tackling, but when we do tackle it, we're actually shifting everything else in our ancestral line. We're healing this line. And that's what a huge part of what we're all here to do within relationships is restructure these relationships that we have had that have been this type of way and show up differently so that the relationship can be transformed. So we can relate to each other differently, so we can love differently, and we can have love be expressed differently, and it becomes more co-creative and not codependent, and it becomes this collaboration and support of just continuing to want to elevate and support each other from a heart-centered space. And that's how we get to progress with Earth as she changes her vibration. And so it was just incredibly beautiful. So I had that happen on my mom's side, went to California in the midst of, being back. And then on top of that, I'll share this story too. When I come back in 2020, we had found out and again, all of this is not by coincidence. Like, us starting this in 2020 when everything had happened to all of us in the world. And my sister and I had such a draw to be like, let's do ancestry.com and like get connected to our ancestors. So it already started years ago of this question or draw towards ancestors and wanting to be connected to ancestors. And so we do this ancestral 23andMe and ancestry.com. And then we find out that we have different family of what we thought we had. So long story short, we have a different grandpa. My dad found out that my dad's dad, so my grandpa, is different. He had a different dad than what he thought he did. So within the midst of this, finding this out, we got to be reconnected connected to our family on that side. And so I just came back from, and this is what has really propped up this podcast now, because it's almost like full circle. Like, we've done all of the family on both sides. And so I got to go back to around Kansas City, Missouri. That's where my dad grew up. And we got to meet his family, his other family, both families. So we got to see his side of the family that we hadn't seen again in a few years. And then also his new family, where I got to meet my uncle and other cousins. He got to meet his brother. And it was this connection and reconnection back to these ancestors that I didn't know that I had. And I got to see photos of what my grandpa looked like and hear what he was like. And again, be in the land that they all grew up in and lived in and immersed in. And so it's this combination of relationship and land as being there and really letting all those codes kind of flood you. And again, that whole experience with both sides of the family, on on Friday we had spent time with the family that I did know on his mom's side. And then on Saturday, we got to spend all of, the whole day with his dad's side. And so it was just this connection that has happened in on both sides of my family. And I'm wondering if this is coming up in your life right now too, of either being reconnected with people or wanting to mend relationships or thinking about your relationships differently, um, or if family has become more of a focus when it usually wasn't a focus. Like, I lived the majority of my life not really being tied to, or even not caring, but not really focused at all of my external family other than my immediate family, because I had moved so much, and I was traveling, and we it was always just the four of us. So now when I came back to the States, I felt such a call to be rooted and be rooted back into my roots of the people that came before me. And I realized that I couldn't be here without them, without my all my grandpas and grandmas and great grandpas and great grandmas, and why it's so important to know and connect to that ancestry. And maybe you don't have the ability to even connect with those people in the physical, or you don't necessarily know those people right now. You can look into ancestry if you feel called to it, or you can in meditation connect back to and just have that intention in meditation, connect back to those roots. And actually, maybe I'll create a meditation for this because I think it is so important right now. And I think it is such a time where so many different families, so many different people and generations all came to this scenario, all came to this um, meeting of sorts in these last few months from such a heart centered space, just of love. And I think it is reflective. Everything is many things that are happening in our life at the micro level is a reflection of what's happening at the macro level in our world. And I think that because we see so much happening of the news and all these different things and wars, and that are just terrible things that are happening that are shown to us, but what is not shown and what is never shown to us is what good things are happening, what good things are being done, focusing on and noticing all of the change that is happening within us and around us. And this is happening to us even if it's not being broadcasted. It's still happening, but it's a reminder of what's happening in your life right now is also happening in the collective. So things that you can do for yourself right now is really anchor into what you want to see in the world, anchor that into your current life, into your actual life, to your reality. And so as you mend these relationships and these parts of yourself, and I realized too that there were parts of me that I blocked off, and it's those shadow selves of ourselves, and those pieces that we let float into the abyss or put in the boxes, and we don't give it space or bring it in. And that's how we can create such a blocks within ourselves. We can dissociate within ourselves. We can not know who we are, or where we came from. And we can have a lot of struggles of knowing who we are, feeling very ungrounded in this life, and always searching outside of ourselves, feeling longing, feeling alone, feeling disconnected, feeling really heavy in all of these emotions. When we have it all right here within our own selves, within our hearts, and that's even in our ancestral line. Our ancestors are literally running through our veins. Like, we cannot be here without the people that came before us. And when you have that like recognition or that remembrance and the actual knowing of like this body, this blood, my features, my genes, all these things that make me who I am in this physical body, is all the things that all the people that have come before me. And that's good and bad. That's good and bad things, quotation of our polar world. Different traumas or patterns or things can happen in our body and in our subconscious because of that. And they come through those layers energetically and in our body and in our genes. And we get to start to like look at those things and rewrite those things and also, uh, look at them with love. And so I just think it's been this beautiful unveiling, I guess, of family, of ancestor, of land, of grounding and rooting. And what this does is it really gives a lot of space and healing towards like nervous system and security and safety and like knowing who you're coming from and like knowing who came before you and knowing that there are strong roots within the land and within those people and those stories. They give you a sense of grounding. They give you a sense of I am from earth. And you can do this work connected to those ancestors and to those people. You can also do this work connected to earth. And it's a reminder to also anchor into, yes, I am a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. Yes, I am a starseed. Yes, I'm not from this earth, but I am having an earth experience, but I am a child of earth. I have earth within my body. I am from the land. I get recharged from earth. So it's like this rooting back down in security and safety in this, all in like the root chakras and our lower systems, our lower energy systems, of really strengthening that and remembering that we are from earth, we are earth, and treating that relationship and showing up in that relationship and mending even that relationship in ourselves, of being, I know I am supported by earth and she's supporting me even when I forget that I'm living on her, so I think, yeah, I had such a call to like share all of that background of my family and what is going on in the background of things, and how for the first time in my life, I'm 30 years old, that like I'm actually strongly connecting to family and having the want and the need to build these relationships and to, understand my people, where they came from, why they're like the way that they're like, not having these prejudgments of them, and really just living from that heart space of just wanting to love each other. And this bleeds out into everybody else and how you connect with everyone else. And this is like kind of, if you picture yourself as a tree, as you are so strongly rooted down within your knowing of yourself and in your past and who came from those before you, you're going to weather those different storms. You're going to be anchored in. You're going to have that knowingness of like, no, this is what I came here to do. This is who I am. This is who I am to be. And it allows that security and safety within your body, within your space, to then be able to open up that heart, open up that crown, open up the other chakras once you have those lower chakras really taken care of. And I think, yeah, if you haven't been connected to family, or if it hasn't felt important, maybe this is a little nudge for you to get connected back to family and show up differently within your relationships, and maybe create if the relationship isn't what you want it to be, or they're not who you want them to be. First of all, you can't change people, but what you can do is you could show up differently and choose how you feel within the relationship and not take offense to the things that are happening or being said. But you can restructure the dynamic of things. And this is how we continue to just shift into our new realities. We get to realize how we have been doing things and how they maybe haven't really been serving us, or they are serving us in a way to keep us trapped or keep us in that stuck victim mindset, or to keep us, safe and secure because it's what we know. But if they are doing those things and you want something different, it allows us to view those aspects of ourselves, of what we're projecting on others, especially the ones that we love, because we can really put all the shit on the people that we love. I mean, you see this when people fight, like you say the nastiest things, not to the random strangers. It's usually to the people that are closest to you. And those are the people that we tend to really hurt the most, because we know that we think that they'll never go away because they're blood. But that's not really the way that we should be treating each other, especially the ones that we love the most. Yeah. So let me know if you are feeling this call to root down to your ancestors, to if you're curious about them, if you want to know where they are, if you've traveled to your land. Yeah, I think this is going to continue to expand beyond this right now. I found out that I was Irish through meeting my other side of the family, and I have been to Ireland, and I did feel really comfortable in Ireland. I'd like to go back now knowing that I'm Irish, and then I also, I'm Norwegian too, so I think that it will continue to expand to the original lands I was from. And I think even not even when I was traveling all last year, and when you do go to different spaces, you pick up those different codes and messages, and it unlocks something different in you when you actually go to those physical places. And it's also a reminder of like any place that you really feel called to go, or like, oh, I would love to go here. Or, if I just had the money or if I just had the time, I know I would go here. Something is there for you specifically. Something, someone, some energy. There is an exchange there that is waiting for you, that is wanting to be done, that's wanting to happen. And following wherever you feel like you're being led to and actually following through to that will continue to strengthen that inner knowing within yourself. But it's also going to unlock a lot of things for you. And yeah, so I think it'll just continue to expand to other places where I am connecting back to roots and to ancestors, and even to parts of the land that previous civilizations have existed and that I have existed in, and then me going to those lands too will be coming. So get connected back to your root. And I think a lot of things will start to unravel and expand for us as we do this. And I hope it brings as much healing and love and knowing and security and safety and just all of these emotions that I have felt over the past few months of reconnecting to these people, my family, that I have felt. And it is remembering that we are not alone, and we are not these just solo people that are just roaming the earth. I mean, I don't have my own immediate family. I am single, but it's like I am connected. I am a part of something. We are all part of something much bigger than ourselves. And that's including bigger than our family, bigger than the earth. We are part of this universe. We have all of the energy and source, and, we're a universe living in a universe. We are everything that makes up us, everything that makes us up makes up the universe. It's like the within, without, like all those things, of that remembrance of, yes, I'm having this experience, but I'm also a part of it all. So let me know if this resonates for you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode. Actually, look out for that meditation. I'm going to create a meditation to connect to ancestors and connect to your roots and connect to the land. So I think that'll be beautiful. So look out for that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.